All right, so welcome everyone to the Forum Thread podcast. I'm your host, Chaos Meta, and joining me here is Wubwave.
Hello.
And we also have returning guest Tara.
Hi.
And James.
Hello.
So, how's everyone doing tonight?
What? Good. Yeah.
I've heard you've been playing a lot of Heroes of the Storm lately.
An excessive amount.
New update came, and I think they're going to be at. They had Warhead Junction on the public test realm, which is the equivalent of the PBE. It's the second StarCraft map, so I'm super excited about that.
I still hate the first one. It's so difficult and frustrating.
It's not that difficult, right?
I just find it annoying to play. It's not really anything against it. It's just the little things where it's like, okay, yeah, we finally got both. God damn it, someone lost the bottom. All right, run back down. It's like, oh man, so much running.
It does require a good amount of just dominating the entire map.
Yeah. You have to control, like, every area instead of just, like, if we all just clump right here, we can do this. It's like, nope, some of us have to be here, some of us have to be over there, and then when it comes through, some of us have to push with our Zerg and kill, but someone has to kill the other side, and it's like, ah!
We should probably...
I always find whenever we spread out to play that map, the enemy team just revolves around Deathball tactics, and they just roam around and just cut you down.
We should probably explain what we're talking about. So if no one knows what Heroes of the Storm is, which I will constantly mispronounce as Heart of the Swarm because it shares the same acronym as the StarCraft expansion. It's basically the Blizzard MOBA with all the Blizzard characters from StarCraft, Diablo, Overwatch, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that they added Overwatch's characters until like just a few days ago.
They've added Tracer, and now they're adding Zarya.
Oh, Zarya's from Overwatch.
Yeah, and there's the Widowmaker skin for Nova, so she's kind of in there too.
Yeah. And they just recently released the first StarCraft themed map for that game, which revolves around having to hold 2 points on the map at the same time.
Yes.
And you build up some points, and then it releases waves of Zerg and Zerglings to swarm
Kick
your
your
enemies.
butt.
Yeah.
You don't stop them, you're gonna get destroyed.
No
Pretty
joke,
much.
though. Those Ultralisks that are part of that swarm will fuck you up super hard. Like on an individual level.
brutal.
Like, I can take down one Ultralisk. No.
No, you...
It can take you down.
yeah. If you're not a sustainable like tank character, you're not standing in there.
Ah, charge! Oh, dead. Alright, well, that was fun.
They also released a couple new characters and skins with their latest patch that are very StarCraft themed, which I'm super happy about.
Oh, they had the Gazlo clown skin on sale the other day, and I told myself, I'm like, I'm not gonna spend any more money on this game. That's enough. I don't need to do this. And then I was like, you know what though? I need that. I need to be a creepy clown while I'm roaming around. It just has to happen.
I am the infested Tychus, the Zerg infested Tychus skin. It just looks so, but it's so expensive.
Not the bikini stitches.
Yeah. Well, that's where it all comes from, right? Like they give you this game for free, but then
microtransactions.
they're like, oh, if you want this completely superfluous item for your gameplay.
I do like that they have basically the buy the game option, where it's like the $50 bundle or whatever that just has like 10 champions.
Oh, a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you enough that if you reach 40, you can do like I don't even know what it's called, like the ranked kind of matches where you have to have at least a certain amount of characters bought before you can play. So that enables you to do it right away, which is kind of a cool thing that they got.
Yeah, that's it. It definitely makes sense. I know League of Legends does a similar thing.
I don't think they have like a bundle.
With the skin, yeah, they have bundles,
but not like
depending on
a buy the game bundle. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, it is one game. That's the issue.
Right, but you know what I mean. Well, I mean, when I say buy the game bundle, it doesn't have every champion and every skin, but it has champions from every role and background. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gives you a good assortment of starting characters.
Yeah. So you can try out everything and decide which roles
Speaking
you like
of League,
playing the
though,
best and stuff.
League is also getting updates. No joke, those Star Guardian skins are on point.
I'm sad because it's like it's one time where like unlike with the project skins we were just Cyborg Ninja, while it was cool, like a lot of it was for characters I even played, but this one is like all the characters are people I play, and they're all going to be super expensive skins.
Not all.
And it's going to make me cry.
Again, we should probably
you're gonna cry, guys. That's it. League's going down.
Like at least the Jinx
Jinx
one is going to be like
We should probably
legendary.
explain what we're talking about again. So, League of Legends is releasing. They occasionally will release like individual skins, like Project Yasuo, where it's like Cyborg Samurai Yasuo, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And if it gets popular enough, they'll release a project bundle or a project themed skin line, where it's like now you have Project Project Lucian, Project Leona, where it's like, oh, they're all cyborg themed. That's cool. And then they'll occasionally release like Project Katarina, and if it still is popular, they released Star Guardian Lux, which is like a magical girl anime light mage type character.
Well, it's Sailor Moon without being Sailor Moon,
it's
but it's obviously
girl,
her.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like her backing animation is literally the transforming animation from Sailor Moon.
How auspicious can we make this without it being copywritten?
And so yeah, they've now released a whole line of other magical girl themed skins, including Star Guardian Jinx, which is very expensive but very cool.
How much?
Yeah. Sorry.
That was exactly what I was going to say. How much are they?
1850 imaginary Riot Point money, which is the equivalent of like $16, $15. It's like the same. It's like the equivalent to the legendary skins in Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like
well,
$10,
I was curious about their skins. Like with League, like 75% of the skins, it's really just a palette swap. But for the more expensive skins, it actually changes like animations or something. Does it?
Yeah.
The skins there.
I was talking about
things that the characters do.
You get the palette swaps. Like you can change your colors depending on how much you play the character for free, just as playing them.
The more you level them up, the more palette swaps you get, and then if you want different skins, you have to
buy
a
total of 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they have varying degrees of their actual skins. You can buy cheaper skins similar to League, where they change like their entire costume, but all of their attacks are similar. But then there's like the legendary and epic skins that change how their voice sounds and changes how their animations look.
Right. It's
similar
to League, where you have like the legendary skins, which change basically everything about the character. And Star Guardian Jinx is a very good legendary skin. Then you also have ultimate skins, which are just like nuts.
My favorite skin that I've seen, I think would be the Sona skin, which gets you 4 different transformations, as well as everyone on your team can just hear constant DJ music the entire time.
That's pretty awesome and horrible at the exact same time.
3 different songs too.
At least it mixes it up.
Actual,
not the same over and
electronic artists like Crystal Method and
actual art. Like there's one that's like hardcore in quotes dubstep, and then there's one that's kind of
music
in the middle, just energetic, and then there's a calm song as well. Like 3 different styles.
Nice.
I used to play League a long time ago. But I stopped. I think the last hero released when I stopped playing was the Gunslinger Lucian.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Is it Russian? So I played for a while, and I remember my favorite skin was I'd play Mundo as my favorite character. I just thought he was great and wonderful in every way. And I'd play Mundo, and he had a business skin.
Oh yeah.
In which Mundo would commonly use quotes from the movie Office
I know the one
Space.
you're talking about.
And it was just it was just fantastic little like nods to nerd culture, and just I enjoyed those. I like hidden Easter eggs in a lot of the stuff I play. So having the skins have hidden jokes in them. Heroes does that a lot. I found there's variant skin colors for like one of the characters, Lieutenant Morales, is a healer, but she's a giant space marine who's a female, and her one of her skins, her alternate color is Samus Aran's armor. And then there's another.
There's lots, man. It's
the
pretty
monk
cool.
from Diablo 3, Karazim. He has an alternate skin color where he just looks like an airbender from The Last Airbender. He's got like the
arrows
tattoos.
and everything.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
So I like
one of the
stuff like
things I do
that.
enjoy about Heroes is the jokes, because of the fact that I played, a lot of StarCraft. Hearing Abathur be like, "It is not a bug hat," you're like, that's funny.
Yeah. They actually have several of the characters have interactions if they're battling against each other or with each other. And you just kind of hear them in the background, and sometimes you don't notice them, but if you're paying attention, you'll hear various characters have certain interactions with each other.
I also like that they do have other sneaky Easter eggs, like Gazlom has a quote that's from The Princess Bride, and it's a really obscure quote. It's just like, he says, it's like, "Don't mess with a goblin when death is on the line," and it's like, wait a minute, "Don't mess with the Sicilian when death is on the line?" It's like straight from the... I was like, hold up, what? Quoting Princess Bride up in here.
Yeah, Blizzard's always been really good with that. They've always had like a tongue-in-cheek with a lot of their IPs. I remember there's a lot of jokes in StarCraft and the original like Warcraft series. If the more you click on characters and select options, they'll start talking to the player rather than just say quotes from the game. So
what we're saying, guys, is that we like MOBAs.
So what's up?
I don't know, man. I don't know
they
about
make me
that.
want to kill myself.
I'm strictly casual when I play my MOBAs, though. So
I don't know.
Definitely...
We've been playing like every day for the last 2 weeks, James.
But no, like what I'm saying is I'm not to the level where I get super competitive and care about win-losses.
That's true.
I play for the joy of just playing these team-based games, whereas I'll go on and there'll be teammates that just give you hell for your character choice, for your the way you play. The nice thing about Heroes, it's you don't have to worry about last killing characters and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's I don't care for that kind of community where they get really
does that
heated.
community seem less likely to run into someone on as a random on your team that would attack you? Does it seem like less salty?
It doesn't happen as often. It does happen. Like, I had someone berate me for picking Gazlo, like, the entire game. They were like, "Oh, the Goblin's the worst. What the fuck's wrong with you?" I'm like, dude, chill out. I'm getting more kills than you. Calm down.
But it got to the point where he would literally leave her, like, to a team fight alone. Like, he would just, rather than support her, he'd dump her and, like, result in us getting, like, losing the game.
Yeah.
And it's very stressful when you're trying to play a game and enjoy it, and somebody you have no idea who they are or where they're from, it just decides they're going to dislike you because of either your play
it's
style
funny, you
or
guys
your character choice.
Talking about that makes me think about, you guys don't play League. That is a fact. But every time I've been in each time I try to say it, Heroes of the Swarm, but
Hearthstone?
Heroes of the Storm, exactly.
Heroes of the Storm.
Like, I've had a few people that are like, kill yourself. And I'm just like, this is just like normal background noise for MOBAs, right? This is just like the ambient music.
Yeah. That's half the reason why I didn't play MOBAs for a long time, is because of things like that, like League, because I'm fully aware of how toxic League can be, because I've tried it. But that's why I just thought, MOBAs, they're not for me. But it's like, I don't know. A lot of people bash on Heroes of the Storm. Like, I had a friend of mine refer to it as the mega blocks of MOBAs the other day. And I was like, okay, but I enjoy playing it and I don't enjoy League. So, I mean, like, yeah, I'm not going to stop playing something I enjoy because you don't think it's as good as something else. That's kind of ridiculous.
Wasn't he complaining about League in
I know, he was like complaining about League and I was like, well, stop playing it and come play with me. And he's like, oh, Heroes of the Storm sucks. So I was like, all right. You could have just said no, but
the only
that's
thing
fine.
I don't like about Heroes of the Storm is that I don't know what the meta is. I'm like, a team comp. I'm like, is this good? Are we gonna win? Or are we gonna lose? I don't.
You don't have the Overwatch.
I'm like, look,
more
I'm like,
tanks.
okay, we have
need more.
2 fighters, 2 assassins, and a specialist. Is that good? I don't. Is this okay? Should I build tanky or should I build
like,
support?
Like,
I don't.
Right? It's kind of hard to tell. Like, I feel like the best way to build it is having one of everything almost. Like, you almost always need support. Supports are super helpful. But, like, other than that, I feel like having a spread amount is actually better.
Yeah. It's as for like the meta game and stuff like that, there's a couple like decent websites for it. There's Hot Slogs, which is the acronym for Heroes of the Storm, and then Logs, and they do a lot of like character builds and like answers to like, oh, the weakness against your character is this, and they generally do like people update their games information to the site, so it does kind of an algorithm and gives you like wins and losses and percentages of games played with this build, and so it's fairly helpful that way. There's a YouTuber who does pretty comprehensive guides, and he's entertaining to listen to. So if I'm ever lost for the character, I'll check one of his videos, and that was MF Pally Time, and he's an enjoyable like person to just listen to, even in the background of
he's
like
a pretty funny guy.
He's pretty entertaining. And then I don't know, sometimes I'll watch their tournaments every once in a while, the Heroes of the Storm like tournaments, just to see what the top teams are playing and how they work together. And then I usually stop watching those immediately because I realize this is a caliber of gameplay that I would never achieve. So probably just stick to what I know. But yeah, no, it's got a pretty decent community. The only thing is they're pre-existing characters from different games. And for me, I didn't grow up playing a lot of Blizzard games. I have friends who played the shit out of StarCraft. They played the shit out of the Warcraft games, and they know all of these characters already, and I'm coming into this game with no real knowledge of any of these characters and their backstories and who they are, except for the Lost Vikings, because I played that on my Super Nintendo when I was a child, and apparently Blizzard owns the rights to the Lost Vikings, so. But the nice thing about League of Legends for me was, since they were all original characters, I could just like a character and not have to worry about all the hidden backstory that already exists for the character. And in this one, I'll hear people talk about, oh, Arthas the Lich King, and before he was a Lich King, and blah 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 about him, and then Illidan was a dark elf who's on the outskirts of their normal society. Like, I don't know all this story.
And this is after the game has ended and he's still going.
Yeah, I'm just lost with all of this sort of stuff. So I feel a little left behind in that regards. But I don't know. I find all the characters very interesting, and a lot of the builds are nice to play, and they're violently different than what I'm used to, I guess. I know Heroes has a couple characters that are very reminiscent of League of Legends characters, but I'm feeling like they're finding their own thing. Different maps as well. League of Legends has a few maps that you play. The tree
It has
line.
essentially one, and then other game mode maps, kind of, but not entirely.
Yeah, the all middle, all random game mode, and then the tree line, which is 3 paths, are the 2 that I played, and I feel like the nice thing about Heroes is each map kind of gives you a different objective, which changes how you build your character. So you kind of have to like take it into account. Oh, what am I doing? Should I be focusing on camps in this game? Should I be focusing on killing other players more than that? Like building for sustainability and team fights. Will there be lots of team fights on this map? Is it small enough for that? So each kind of map gives you a different objective and goal throughout it, rather than just the plain destroy the towers, kill the heroes kind of play.
Yeah, I feel the way that this one was created was more as kind of the one of the equivalents of video game soccer, rather than just a going across the map. Because it's always going to be the exact same, and for things like soccer, it's going to be the exact same map, and you're just going to get to the other one's goal first.
Yeah.
And that it seems to kind of like now we have tournaments and championships, just like they do in actual, like I shouldn't say actual at this point because they've added this to esports, but the more established sports like soccer and football, they're doing just the same tournament for not quite the same amount of money yet,
We should have
but
you guys
still
play
significant
league at some
amount.
point
Mm-hmm.
with a pre-made team. And
Oh god.
and honestly,
I'm such a baby. I don't like it when
for a
people
long
say
time
mean
when I was
things
playing
to me.
League, my favorite command was /mute all, where it just mutes everyone in the game.
Ah.
Literally, as the game starts,
Okay,
just
I'll have to write that down.
and you have a peaceful game. Although if you don't hit / and you just say mute all,
Like,
you're like, oh, this is
wonderful.
awkward, and I'm just gonna.
Oh.
What the fuck you trying to do, man?
It's
nothing.
just kind of standing next to them in the elevator, just like.
Immediately respond with, "Hey guys, how's it going?"
What's happening, man?
So
Please
it
don't
was
kill
a
me.
typo. All
No.
the keys were so close together. I didn't realize.
Yeah, we should probably get off MOBA talk, because I'm sure this is boring to anyone who does not play MOBAs at all.
That's true.
That's true.
We guys went copy on me.
Anyone have anything interesting happen in their lives in the last week or so? I haven't been on the podcast in like 3 weeks, so.
Oh my god. School started.
Yeah,
So,
university.
for all us college
Nice.
students going back, that's been definitely consuming our lives.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Here, since we're talking about game and stuff, I'm taking a class that is game studies, and the way my teachers laid it out, it's all based on XP. So when you hand in assignments, you get a certain XP. The first one to hand stuff in gets bonus. And if you hand it in like a week before it's due, you get another bonus. So this is how he laid it out, and I was like, okay. And the day he assigns assignments is my day off, so I just did everything that day. And I was like, sweet. And he also has scoreboards. So the first scoreboard came around, and I was at the top, and then immediately I was like, I must do all the work immediately for this class so I can stay at the top of this stupid scoreboard. I was like, damn it, teacher, you know the way straight to my competitive nature.
Now you just need to start, like...
If someone beats your score and goes above you on the leaderboard, he just plays the sound clip that is the Super Smash a new record.
Yeah.
You gotta treat it like every
new
competitive video game. You just go, wow, luck. And...
Hacks, man. Fucking
You beat another person on the list.
GG
GG easy.
Just start getting real up in everyone's face.
I think the best thing that you haven't mentioned, Tara, is your name on the leaderboard because you don't use your real names.
Yeah, he made us give him alternate things so that basically so we wouldn't do that, so he could put our names on the scoreboard without you knowing who the other people are. Go on, James.
So Tara's handle is the General. And that's it. So it's just the General at the top of the leaderboard all the time.
You should have had like dank underscore no scope 69 XX.
Like the most typical MLG usernames that you can think of.
XOXO 420 get good.
Okay. What I have a question for, I don't know if there's an answer to this, but on like for game handles and names on the internet, I see a lot of people with numbers, and I understand that once your name is taken, the only way to keep your name is to throw a few numbers afterwards. But I see a lot of people just go out of their way to add the numbers. Like I doubt there would be a name. That's why I choose Butlord Primus as my handle whenever I go anywhere, because any site, any form of login, nobody has that name. It's which is awesome. But why do people? I feel like there are people who go out of their way to choose.
Let's just all stare at Zach since he's not here, Mr. Zap 45.
But he's not the only one. Like it's
well,
because
that one is a specific sequence of numbers, but I know that the people that have like X555 and 999, like just kind of derp on the keyboard after you finish your name.
Like, especially for a game that requires you to use your username as a login, you're like, how do you even keep track of that? Yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
But I think that's exactly what James referring to, is like the people who instead of choosing a name like the one like Butler Primus or Webwave, it's like choosing a name and then adding numbers and always keeping the same numbers. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for example, my daughter, when she was trying to create an account for Pokemon Go, I was setting it up for her, and I asked her, "What do you want your name to be?" And she gave me her name, 69. And then Dank No Scope, and she gave me a series of numbers, and I'm like, "What do these numbers mean?" And she's just like, "I don't know," and that was it. Like she thought that was the norm. People throw numbers at the ends of their names. And so I'm wondering if it's this weird sort of like people just don't know any better anymore, and it's just like, oh, that's what you do on the internet. You throw some numbers at the back of it. Probably meaningful to the person, but is that what what it's become? Like it's no longer just ran out of James. No, James is taken, so James 3 is going to be James 3 is taken, James 3-6.
Yeah, that's why I always go with used penguins from everything. And if I come across something that name is taken, which doesn't happen often but does happen, and I feel like it's usually I made an account and forgot about it, and that's why the name is taken. But I just come up with something else ridiculous, like Hype Master General, because but I try to avoid the numbers at all costs. So it's a strange phenomenon.
Yeah, I don't like numbers, but that's just me.
Down with numbers.
Fuck them.
Who needs them, man? Who needs numbers?
Yeah, let's go back to just math without numbers. A's and X's. I've seen so many equations that are like A plus B equals X. So we can just go back to that. It must be they're
trying to get rid of numbers, right? That must be why they're written like that.
Getting rid of them.
No other possible explanation.
I've been lucky enough for my username to at least not be taken in all the forms, but I've had to. It's like just common enough to where if it's a popular game or website, then it's probably taken. But on things like I forgot what the most recent one was that I actually got my full name. I've had to do like Mania instead of Mana for League, and Chaotic for Twitter, because someone over in Asia has my actual username.
Oh my god, Twitter. I used to work at a cafe, and my name was we created a fictional character named Derek Brambles because I wanted to basically have a Twitter account about the people that I run into on a daily basis and how they treat me. So I'd tweet about customers, and I didn't want people to trace it back to me being oh, hey, this guy, I know him. He started tweeting about me. So I just made myself Derek Brambles, and I called my account Brambles Cafe. Turns out there's a real cafe called Brambles Cafe that I had no idea, but they didn't have a Twitter account. So I would be tweeting all of these, basically like calling out all of these people and their habits. And I got complaints from people. And one time a woman direct messaged me explaining to me that my bagels she got from Brambles Cafe were frozen, solid, and disgusting, and she's never getting bagels from me again. And I'm like, I don't sell bagels. I don't know who this is. So that's when I realized that there must be something else. I looked this woman up on Facebook, and she lives in Scotland. And then I searched Brambles Cafe Scotland. Turns out that's where one of the places are. And it was just a weird situation. I ended up closing down that account and opening up another one. And not even 2 weeks later, the real Brambles Cafe swooped in and took that name back.
I saw an interesting article that was on name selling for like RPGs and stuff like that. Because, every MMO, if you make a username, there's going to be certain ones that people want. And it was an entire economy based around anime-themed usernames. So you would have like Kirito1126 would be poked and then sold. Kirito without anything. And then, like, Alucard 2791, they would poke it and then just sell it. And it's like, this is not what John Smith had in mind
ridiculous.
hundreds of years ago. Adam Smith, I mean, not John Smith. John Smith is... I don't know what John Smith was thinking about when he was forming the Mormon Church, but
sailed over. That's too funny. That's weird. No, that's incredible that people would, like, it makes sense because people want those names. Like, those names are important to people, and so, oh man, I can't believe that people would do that. But
it's like the things you don't know you can make money at. Like, we ran into a guy the other day who buys and flips shoes. Like, he'll buy limited edition, like, really expensive by themselves, buy limited edition shoes, then, like, 2 weeks later sell them for, like, multiple $1,000s. And that's, like, how he makes his money. And we were like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, I just do that for a living. I never keep a pair of shoes. I always buy them and sell them again. And I was like...
Yeah, he was getting really excited about, like, who is it? It wasn't 50 Cent.
Kanye.
It was Kanye? Yeah. He's released... He has his own line of shoes. But he was releasing these, like, $1,000 shoes in kids' versions.
Yeah.
As a limited run. And he was so excited.
He kept looking at his phone to, like keep track of how long it was until they came out because he was going to buy a bunch and then sell them like for double the price a couple weeks later.
That is insane.
Just incredible.
Yeah. I was like, damn, man, that requires so much like keeping on top of stuff, but it's just like, I didn't even know you could make a living doing that. Like, I was like, what?
And he says he casually does like shirts and jackets and stuff like that, but it's mostly shoes.
Yeah.
Just insane.
Well, I know similar to the naming scheme, I know there's people that go, like, say, they take a League of Legends account, go to level 30, or go to ranks, more so, and then people pay tons and tons of money for just the privilege to have a account that has once been diamond, or once been platinum, or whatever.
I mean, I understand some of them where it's
I've
like unlocked all the
characters
by this account. I'm like, that might make sense. Or unlocked all the skins. Not all the skins, but this account has whatever skins.
Yeah.
All the skins that? I forgot, it was like thousands or something. Like something ridiculous
buy, like,
for how
to
every
account?
skin.
You're not diamond. It's like, I'm going to buy a fighter jet. Do you know how to fly a fighter jet? No. but I'm gonna buy one.
No. I just want to look at it and be like, and invite people over to be like, guys, you seen my fighter jet? But it's anything less cool because, like, guys, look at this.
Also, my fighter
account.
jet expires at the end of the season.
Yeah.
No, it'll be if it's a fancier fighter jet, it will slowly degrade in quality.
We're not talking years.
Don't
we're
continue
like
playing at that level.
Weeks, it will degrade if you can't fly that fighter jet.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Speaking of,
so
kind of talking
ridiculous.
again once about MOBAs and stuff. McLovit posted. I'm not sure if anyone saw it. It was a video in the anime chat where it's this channel that.
Nope.
They're like metal workers, and so they make like swords and stuff. And they made the Excalibur from the Fate series, which was awesome, and the Scissor Blade from Kill la Kill, which was made out of scissors. And it's an awesome channel.
Wait, scissors melted down?
Or... scissors made into a scissor blade.
Shit, that's funny.
It's so cool. And the Fate sword that they made, they're like, we found these old daggers from medieval combat. These represent the Rider class. Now we found these arrows from Macedonia, so we could use these for the Archer class. And as you know, this character is supposed to be Medea in the show, which comes from this region. So we found these, and we're gonna melt these down into the sword. You're like, whoa, like
that's the Men-at-Arms guys.
Yeah, the Men-at-Arms guys.
Yeah, there's a couple of YouTube accounts that I've watched, and they always try it out afterwards, right? They use the weapon. Yeah, that was always the cool thing. I watched them create a couple weapons a few years back, but they must have just an insane following now where they're going.
The reason I thought of it is
like
because they made Master Yi's sword, and they're like, we're gonna use these rings made of bronze, and you're like, I get it.
Yeah, it's always cool seeing stuff like that. I like being an artist. Your mouse. Sorry. Being an artist, I like to see works like that are kind of like, it's not a direct, like, just a drawing or anything like that. It's they've gone out and decided, I'm going to recreate stuff from these games.
Oh, this is cool. I'm going to will it into existence.
Cosplayers. Yeah,
it seems like especially those people who went a step above and not just like recreating the actual item, but like recreating it in a way that is like trying to like as much as creating it in real life.
Yeah, like instead of a replica, it actually cuts stuff and whatnot.
Yeah,
like it actually is usable.
Fully usable.
Yeah. Insane,
awesome.
man.
Using all of your skills to recreate nerd culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a YouTuber, not YouTube, well, he might be a YouTuber, but on Twitter, the Great Black Otaku, who is actually in the WWE right now. And he has moves that are based off of fighting game and anime moves. So he has like the Nico Ni, and he has his finishing move is called the Third Impact off of Evangelion, and he does Haidokens. It's great. It's like, my mission is to make anime real. Like,
That's ridiculous. That's so awesome, though.
Oh man, yeah. No, it's something that I find really amusing. I remember in one of the sculpture rooms at school, I walked in and there's just an outline in cardboard and plywood for Cloud's Buster Sword just sitting on the desk. And somebody is recreating the Buster Sword as a sculpture for a sculpture project. And it just... These games have such an impact on people's lives that they want to embody them in every form. And their creative outlet, they go so far as to create them. I just find that incredibly fascinating.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's... Because it means so much to these people. Like, to me, like... I find any stuff that I create in art, generally it has to have importance to me or I just don't care. A lot of art projects, sometimes you'll be given do a scene like this with this and this, and you have so much restrictions and there's no passion in what I want to do with it, so I just kind of do a project that meets the criteria rather than what I want to do. But or I struggle to try and fit what I'm passionate about into it. Whereas people who are just given like free reign to create whatever they want, I find are just so much more inspired to fully do it.
Right.
And the Men-at-Arms guys who are clearly fully fledged blacksmiths who know the ins and outs of the business are filled with this passion to recreate these replicas, the usable replicas that are practical.
Yeah. Them talking about how they forged that the scissor sword from Kill la Kill is like really interesting because it's like, again, it's something that's drawn on paper, in an animation cell, I should say. And then they're like, how the fuck are we gonna make this real? Like, how are we gonna make all the bends to it?
Is that like behind the scenes before the episode starts? They're just hands in their heads. How are we gonna do this?
There's like literally a line from that episode where they're like, yeah, it transforms into all kinds of stuff because of magic. So we're just gonna actually have it just do this. And
well, it's one of those things that when they created it, they never considered it could be real, you know?
Exactly.
It's like you don't create like a keyblade or a scissor blade thinking like people would use this in real combat in real life. So to recreate them outside of that, it's like it must be ridiculously difficult.
Some swords are created with just sometimes ridiculous proportions, like Cloud Sword, and then there's other swords like you're saying Keyblade that are actually supposed to be magical and transforming.
Or the Berserk sword.
So to translate those are even harder.
Gath's sword is just insane. No.
Yeah.
It's him swinging, the sword is like 3 times the length of his body, and he swings it with one hand.
He uses it as a shield multiple times, and it's just like, is this a sword? Really? Should this be a sword? Why don't you just use it as a shield?
Well, in the anime, what I like about... this just a reference. This is from Berserk, which is an anime, and Guts is as a character who is kind of a tragic hero, and his sword is huge, and he because he learned as a child to use an adult sword, and over time he just kept using larger swords because nothing felt right beyond something that's too big for him. And yeah, what I love about the anime is when he hits enemies and cuts them in half the time it doesn't sound like a clean slice. It sounds like metal hitting metal, like a cast iron,
like a huge thwump sound instead of like a slice. And then 4 people in a row are cut in half and flying everywhere. It's like, oh shit.
Me, Cass, and McLovin just recently watched the Golden Age arc movies, so.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah, I made a tweet about it.
The ones after already?
I made a tweet about it where it's like, watching sex scenes with like your parents in the room in a movie is really awkward. Watching them with your friends, you're just like, lame joke, right? To ease the tension. All right, everyone's laughing. I'm really uncomfortable. Like,
and that game, those movies, and then the series afterwards are so graphic. Like, we watched the movies like a while ago, and then we went to a friend's house, and he was watching the series, so we restarted it and watched it all together. And like immediately, they have like in the intro a recap of like the ending of the movies. And I was like, oh, right, I forgot about all the rape and violence in this series. Okay, all right, I remember and I'm prepared now. I was like, fuck.
I actually went through and read a bunch of the manga and just kind of catch up on like the backstories and stuff that's going on. And they change things in the films and they leave things out. And even in the TV series, they've changed a lot. But it's just it's a really interesting... I'm not a huge anime fan, but I've definitely gotten absorbed by this. Like, I like the anti-heroes. I like tragedy that befalls the hero, and that no matter where they turn, they're trying their best to just get by, and it's just terrible. Life just sucks, and I think Guts truly embodies that that personality, which is what I'm drawn to. And yeah, I gotta finish that newer TV series that they just finished doing.
I think we have 3 episodes left. It's pretty good.
Is it CG animated like it is in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's reverse, because the films, the way they did them, it's the big action scenes are all like CG anime, which is kind of cool. But then they'll splice in a lot of just flat anime, like the standard animation style. And for the new TV series, what they're doing is it's all flat, or it's all 3D through the normal stuff, and then they'll splice in flat anime and fast action sequences rather than
I feel like
three-dimensional models.
That's not a good idea, though, because one problem with like CG animation that I found, I haven't seen the new Berserk show, so it might actually be awesome. I don't know, but everything that I've seen before of like Knights of Sidonia, Ruby, or like other shows that are CG anime action scenes, awesome. Walking around and talking scenes, dog shit. Like
they do it with an interesting like filter over, like they've rendered all of them to look almost flat.
Sometimes you can't really tell, like they do have a lot of shading and stuff like they're drawn. Sometimes though, like there are some characters that are always drawn and some that are always CG, and when they're in a scene together you could tell really badly. Like there's a scene where there's a bunch of prostitutes and 3 of them are drawn and 2 of them are CG, and it's like
that sounds like it would be
you can tell.
I saw a screenshot on Twitter just today of someone was kind of laying down on the ground surrounded by a bunch of like either men or creatures, I couldn't tell which, but it was like the same person in the crowd 3 times. It's like extended, like it was really obvious that the entire crowd was not
I think I know
drawn.
what you're talking about. I think we just watched it. I think that was like the witch episode.
The witch hunt, yeah.
But there was one point in that, like I'm not sure if you're confused if they're monsters or people. There was a part where the people are monsters and they do all look the same. So that, but if you could tell others apart, then it might. Yeah, I don't know. Basically, I'm saying they could have been actually looked the same on purpose. But you're right, they could have also been cloned, just still in space.
Lazy animators.
But I definitely feel like CG animation is really good for action scenes and backgrounds. But like making people walk around and speak look good is really hard with that.
But that's it. Ruby does that, like the Rooster Teeth's.
They've gotten better at that, at least.
Yes, no, they've
Season 1, them talking and walking was awful.
That's all they're doing is talking and walking for the most part. So that's what it always reminds me of. They look like marionettes. And then they didn't even have real characters in the backgrounds. They just had like cookie cutter silhouettes.
I kind of like that though. I kind of almost wish they go back to it, just because the people in the background, their hair textures are all like wrong. Like they're like they remind me of Sims downloadable skins. Like the hair is like too shiny and like and I just stare at it, and when I'm supposed to be paying attention to what Ruby and them are doing, and I'm like, I almost wish they were just black so I wouldn't pay attention to them so much, but I do.
I think Attack on Titan did it pretty well, where the backgrounds were CG, and then they would just move the backgrounds with the flat animated characters to mimic motion and stuff.
I honestly didn't notice that it was CG, so...
I only really noticed because we
watched
did a great
job
with Chaos recently, relatively recently.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, these are all CG."
It's super closely blended. They're not like the CGs really only just show the 3D effects of like the gear that they're wearing,
the buildings
or
around
the actual thing that they're doing. But everything, like they blend it as evenly as they can.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine CG would be easier to produce than the standard draw a character frame for frame. Whereas
still
in CG,
but
it takes it takes a long time to build a model, and then you have to make all the right physics for them. But effectively, you can just
you can place them from one place to another, and a lot of the times the computer will fill in between. Yeah. And so that cuts down a lot of frames you have to draw.
A show I mentioned earlier, Knights of Sidonia, which was a Netflix anime, which is really pretty decent. But at least first season is. I heard second season is really bad. But they used like all CG animation as well. And for like this fights in space with mechs flying around, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Or even when they're floating in zero gravity, you're like, oh, this looks pretty good. And then like they'll walk on normal gravity, you're like, and just vomit.
You're like, oh no, you're like clipping through the ground.
Oh no.
Oh, that's one thing I remember from like the first season of RWBY. I think it's right before they fight the giant bird. They're all running up the hill, and all their toes are clipping into the hill. And I'm just like, oh no, because it's just like a white hill, and they're running up it like and just like kicking into it. Is kind of what it looks like, and I'm like, oh no.
I can't imagine like it's. I already know it's super difficult even to do like a still scene using 3D characters, but to have to go over it many times, and I know some of them they might have even like, oh well, it's not bad enough to actually have to go through. It's so difficult to
in that instance,
to make
it might have been
to make just basic
do.
movements. And those guys had what's it called, motion capture.
That's true.
To help them as well.
But you know what's another funny thing about the motion capture of that I noticed is they used men for most of it, and you can tell because the shoulders of all the girls in the first season are huge. You can tell that it's men motion capturing them, and it's a weird thing to notice, but it's another one of those things like the hair in the background that I just kept staring at their shoulders.
One of the
I don't know. I like my girls with big manly shoulders.
I wonder if like in the first season, like you said, they're all motion captured by men. Like when they're sitting, are they just sitting like dudes with like their legs apart and like, what's up, bro?
I haven't noticed that.
I just remember the montage, or not montage, but the video where something having to do with Monty, and he was showing the way he was like capturing the or at least talking about the way he was capturing the original like dancing video that he had on his channel of all the people, and how others would just see him just doing these random dance moves.
Everybody's like just watching him dance. Doesn't understand he's mocapping.
This just reminded me of the sitting animation, but it's very small. In Mass Effect 2, if you played as female Shepard and you got like the dress casual costume, there's a scene when you're talking to Garrus that normally it's fine because every other casual costume is pants. No. But when you're in the dress, she just like has her legs apart. She's like, "So Garrus, what's up?" And you're just like, "Oops."
That's pretty hilarious. Yeah. Like I realize that it's really hard, but there's just like sometimes there's nothing you can do because like I have a degree in 3D animation. Like it was just a year-long thing that I did, and it's by the end of it, I was like, this is really fucking hard, and I don't want to do it for a living. But there are some things where you try and make them move a certain way, and it just doesn't do it. And that's kind of how I feel it happened with the hill. Is they tried to make it look more natural, and the physics weren't working together. But there's still, it's so hard to notice. Like, there's one scene in Berserk where it's like, come on guys, you could have fixed this. It's where like they're fighting on a cliff and a guy swings down, grabs the side and flips back up over behind. But it just looks like he grabs it and then his body doesn't move and he just like pivots. And then when it comes up to the other side, his body moves and he flips up. But I'm just like, you could have had his legs moving to give him momentum or something. Like, it was painfully obvious that they just like pivoted him and then moved the model in an arc. Oh man.
Oh, animation. Yeah. This is probably such a more specific topic than MOBAs.
We're narrowing down your audience for you. People who play MOBAs and watch anime wubs. Isn't that what you want?
Yes. If you want to see some really good blend of CG and flat animation, look up Fate Unlimited Blade Works, which came out like a year ago. Because it should just be called Unlimited Animation Budget Works, because it's very good. Very good blend.
Awesome.
That's always a challenge, trying to blend very different styles together.
Yeah.
Just to make what you said a little earlier, I actually did the single animation that was actually people talking. Like, I wanted to do a slightly step above and not just have them sit there, and to just mimic the very small motions that you go through sitting and talking. It's like to make it look right is so hard.
Touch
so difficult.
your face. Have your characters touch their face. No joke.
People
you
touch
watch
their
a person
faces.
just sitting around, like, people watch. People touch their face so much. Like, I think in a span of a minute, you'll see somebody touch their face at least, like, 10 times. It's insane. And it's just one of those things that I picked up the other, like, I was noticing more and more of after somebody mentioned that to me. Sitting in class, if it's just during a lecture, I'll gaze around the room and I'll watch people and I'll try and count how many times people touch their face throughout the lecture. And it's just, you'll see it once and then it'll go off. Somebody else will touch their face doing something. It's just something simple, like maybe rubbing their eye or scratching their chin or just playing with something on their lip or like just something simple, but everybody will do something. And I notice I have a habit of grabbing my, like, I have like a little soul patch under my lip, and I just pull on it.
I do the same.
I stroke it all.
I have a goatee, and I just twist the hair on my goatee.
I know we have one friend that, like, he has a little beard, like, chin strap thing, and he just, like, combs his fingers through it all the time. And I can't help when I'm talking to him then noticing that he does it constantly. He'll, like, put his hand down, and you start talking to him again. As soon as he starts talking, he plays with his beard. I'm just like, oh, alright. It's like he has to be doing it when he's talking. It's pretty great.
That's one thing I noticed people do so much. And that's something that's missed in a lot of, like, animation and stuff like that, is the thing that it doesn't feel real is people aren't interacting with their body or fidgeting. Yeah.
I know one thing that I do personally that actually is almost a pet peeve of my own is if I have just a little bit bangs that are a little bit too long, but not really enough to comb, and it's always in my face. So just having to get it, like I actually got some mousse and hair stuff just so that I wouldn't have to constantly swipe it up during my job because I'm standing up and sitting down and moving over here and over there. And so even if I comb my hair in the morning, like by the time I just after I start, it's already like falling around and getting everywhere. So I have to constantly be like fidgeting and moving even as I'm actually doing stuff.
Do you ever do the hair flick?
Oh my god.
It's not quite long enough for that.
Okay. In high school,
I was just about to say back in high school.
In high school, I used to have shoulder-length bleach blonde hair because I thought surfer dudes were the way of the future.
Totally cut. Okay.
But I would do the hair flick to get the hair out of my eyes, and even after I cut my hair short, I would still do it for a good year and a half afterwards. I wouldn't have hair in my face, but it would just be a natural thing, part of my life.
I had the same thing because I was a huge emo kid in high school. So I had the big bangs right down the front, and I would always flip them to the sides. And then I noticed it when I got my hair cut, and I didn't like the way they did it, so I ended up, to fix it, I pushed my hair to the other side. So my bangs were going the opposite direction, and I noticed it because I would constantly flick to the side they used to be, and my bangs would just go poof, like across my face. I was like, God damn it!
Self-destruct.
Yeah, I was like, this is the opposite of what I wanted.
The other thing is, I like to fidget with my hands a lot. I like to, like, if I don't have anything in them, I'll snap them. If I have like a pencil or something, I'll do
I'll snap it.
Or I'll flip. I do the flip where it spins around my thumb.
Oh yeah, I do the one where
I'll do that over and over.
Wait,
and over
again. Can you actually like twirl it around your fingers?
Well, I do I snap it around my fingers and it does a
It's like the half of it, like the beginning of putting it through your fingers is just going around the thumb.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But it's stuff like, I need to be doing stuff like that. I used to have a Rubik's Cube pretty much just to spin it. I almost solved it once, but I got halfway. I can do the first, like, half of it, but then I can never do the finishing.
Do you know what you
finish
it? Do you know what they have that you should get? They have spin rings.
What?
The rings with like spinners on them. And I saw one. It was like a D&D dice roller for a D20, and you just like spin it on your finger. And I'm like, that seems like it would be perfect.
back in high school, my boyfriend had one, and when we were holding hands, I would just spin it, and it used to piss him off so much. He's like, "Stop! Just stop doing that."
Roll D20 for charisma.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty awesome.
I gotta look that up because
we did. I was gonna buy it for you, but we couldn't figure out what your ring size was.
Oh right.
Remember?
Yeah, I have a couple rings. They're like my old grandfather's like wedding ring and his just a ring that he wore all the time, and I wear them fairly frequently. But I'm always fidgeting with them. I'm spinning them. I'm twisting them on my fingers,
That's like
pulling
the
them off.
reason why I don't wear jewelry. Like, I say that when I say that, I also realize that I have piercings, so that was count as jewelry. But I don't wear removable jewelry because I can't stop fidgeting with them. Like, if I wear a ring, by the end of the day, like, the skin around there is so irritated because I've just been constantly spinning it. Or a necklace, I'll, like, move the pendant back and forth, like... And that's, like, the reason why I just don't wear them. But then it's even bad with, like, my piercings. Because I do play with them. I'll, like, pull on them. Or, like, bite the ones in my lips and stuff like that. Because it's just, And I even as you were talking about that, I realized I was, like, pulling on my nose ring. I was like, da-da-da-da-da. Oh. No,
it took me a while to get used to having my wedding ring and not, like, constantly just know it's there and want to like do something. And now I actually have the opposite problem because even though we try to get it as closely sized, like my knuckles are slightly larger but not large enough to where it's happened twice in my job so far, and I'm now paranoid because it's already happened twice that it'll just fall into the box crusher. Ooh. That it just slips right off my finger because it's like just a bit too big. Oh. Because it had to be big enough to get around my knuckle. So the unfortunate part is like, it's like the one time I actually have to be conscious again of it. Other than that, I just have the constant habit of if my knuckles haven't been cracked in a while, I'm just going to be cracking every single one.
You know
like,
what you
constantly.
should do, Chaos? You should heat the ring and then slide it over your finger and then let it cool so it just like grips on though forever.
That's true. You could do that.
Yeah, the something I've noticed is cold weather. My hands will shrink slightly, just ever so slightly. So if it's cold out, all my rings are loose and they'll just like spin on my finger. But if it's warm out, like in the summer, I can't get those rings off my hands unless I'm like I use water to like lubricate my hands in some way because they fit just perfectly. So that's one thing that is an odd thing that the human body will do is we shrink and grow ever so slightly depending on air pressure and temperature.
Oh, the human body. What an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Heck, I even used to do the beard, like what I was saying earlier, the beard twisting thing when I had a longer goatee. I would just constantly do that, and then when I shaved it, it was like the sitting. It just felt like something was wrong.
Like your hand was lost. It would go up and be like, "Oh no, what? It's not here."
I couldn't do it anymore.
Back when I had like a mustache part of my goatee, like the edges of it would get long enough that I could either twirl them, which was I do all the time, or they were long enough that they would like fit inside my mouth, so I'd be just like, on my own face.
Gosh. You heard it here first. Wubwave is an evil man. He's a villain. He twists his mustache.
And eats it.
That's how you get the
I can't grow
heroes
mustache.
off guard.
my like everywhere else it grows like I could have a super beard, but my mustache it doesn't get any longer.
That's like my brother. My brother, we're like my family has fairly fair hair. Like it's not super blonde, but it's like really light brown. So he like can grow a chin strap beard, like and it's pretty thick, no problem. But he did Movember once and discovered he cannot grow a mustache. It just doesn't happen. It's like, it's so funny how that happens. Like, some people can't control their facial hair. It just, like, grows no matter what they do. And some people just some places just don't do it.
I can only grow the goatee and mustache. Cheeks, nothing at all. Neck, unfortunately, can't. Which I wish the neck was the spot that
if I go too long without shaving, too many different occasions, completely different people have called me Wolverine. And that's after it's not like, oh, I've been not shaved. It's like not shaving for maybe a week or two at most.
Do you get like the sideburns?
Like not trying to go. Yeah, that's all I have essentially. It's just giant sideburn growth is what happens, and then a little bit of a under chin forms, and then nothing on the actual like mustache
I want
area.
you to grow that out. Just have the mutton chops and chin beard. That would be.
Oh man,
That's another thing I did in high school. The giant mutton chops.
You were a sight to see in high school.
I was a gem.
Listen, everyone dressed like an idiot in high school.
Yeah.
I dressed all in black. Shaved my head.
Oh, so did I. Oh,
so did I. Oh my god. Actually, or really bright tights. I had a habit of wearing like really patterned tights, which was funny because they would be like full length tights, like not like leggings. They had feet and everything, and I refused to take them off for gym class because I hated going in the first place. So I would just take off like my skirt or whatever and put on basketball shorts over top of my brightly colored tights and go into gym class like that. I'm pretty sure I passed that year because the teacher would like wait to see which tights I was wearing that day. Like she was so interested in my socks because if I wasn't wearing tights, I had these really high, super dumb patterned toe socks that I would wear. And every day she would find me and just like look at my socks and laugh and then go back to teaching the class.
This is something that teenagers don't realize while they're teenagers, but teenagers are idiots.
my God.
Oh
So
yeah,
stupid.
looking back, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm such.
I used to
retard.
listen to like heavy
Goddamn.
death metal, like literal just like screaming into the microphone.
I did that.
And I
too.
like it's funny. I recently did a speech where I had to like recap like the last few years of my life. I'm like, what was I like when I was a teenager? Oh, a retard. That's right. Yeah.
Oh right, I was an idiot.
You pull out a picture and it like is playing death metal in the background. You're like,
Oh,
quickly
no.
put it away.
Well, it's funny now because I'm like now I listen to J-pop and just appreciate the things in life. And then back then I just listened to heavy metal and thought my life was shit. And you're like, teenagers are idiots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
no,
a super
I went
angsty
through
emo
a
kid.
very similar transformation. It would be like heavy, like 80s metal or a really aggressive punk rock and wear all black and be really angsty. And yeah, and now it's I dress as decent as I possibly can and
Bow
care.
ties.
Wear
Fancy
bow
dress
ties
shirts.
from time to time, and yeah, and then I listen to video game chiptune music or comedy music.
My music taste hasn't changed that much, and it's mostly because I've never been that into music. Like, I don't know if it stems from the fact that I'm pretty sure I'm partially deaf, even though I haven't checked it. But like, I never got super into any genre. Like, my favorite, I just would listen to everything. And so my music change hasn't, like, I have an iPod that still has music on it from when I was like in my super emo phase, and I still listen to it from time to time. So it's like, I don't know, so weird. I'm just still an emo kid at heart. That's really what I'm trying to get down to. I don't wear as much black eyeliner, but deep down.
Cass, I can't even begin to imagine what you were like in high school.
Actually, not.
I'm
not
pretty
too
sure your life
different,
started at 18.
because no. See, here's the thing. I grew up on military bases, which were super regulated, not like actual with guards and something, but it was super regulated. There was always a small class. So not only did I have, none, and I mean it when I say like the highest amount of bullying or fighting that ever happened was two people like, want to go, and then it stopped. That's the worst I've ever
They didn't
witnessed
You
in
wanna
any
go?
sort
No,
of
me neither.
competition.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I mean that fight was actually broken up before anything happened, and so I was. It was more the just kind of whatever relaxed sort of school. Though early on, not realizing that you're supposed to not be happy, essentially. So people would almost pick towards the, oh, you're having a good time.
Oh, you're having fun in
sort
your
of
life?
thing.
Fuck you, node.
Yeah. Yeah, essentially.
Oh,
so it was just like, okay, I guess video games then. Because everyone else is just
society has turned away from me. I guess video games will be my sanctuary.
I had this weird thing where I never thought I got bullied in high school, but then like looking back on it at like growing up, I realized that it was never like outright. It was all the people I thought were my friends.
Yeah.
Were the reason I had self-conscious issues, because like I barely talked for a lot of the time. I was always very quiet because my friends, when I started talking, be like, "Oh my god, do you ever stop?" and stuff like that, or like, "Oh my god, you're so loud." And I was like, okay. Or I'd start talking about something like, Tara, nobody cares. And I'm like, all right. And only looking back on it did I realize that was like the reason I had so many issues. And I was like, damn, well, I'm glad I graduated early and don't talk to those people anymore. But it's just like, oh yeah, I was never bullied in high school. Oh wait, it was just hidden amongst friendship.
It was kind of like that for you. It was more just like, not a bad interaction, just a lack of interaction. They just already had their little groups, already had this or that, and so we were just like, oh,
we've talked about
right.
this before, but if you had the same mentality you do now, but in a tiny teenage body, your life would be the sickest.
Although
I
feel it wouldn't be, because you would have this adult mentality, and you'd be trying to deal with teenagers.
Oh my god, I wouldn't have.
If your entire group of friends,
you would probably be more recluse because you'd just be like,
what the fuck you
face palming constantly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can imagine it. Like thinking of the friends like if I was an idiot in high school, all my friends were also idiots. That trying to interact with them now, I would probably want to kill myself.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Spend time on teenagers.
You and your friends all get teleported into tiny child bodies, but you all have the same mind. You're like,
just your friends though, or everybody? So is everybody a teenager with an adult mind?
Yeah.
To be fair, there's people that
when you say everybody,
are
I'm thinking
questionable.
Like everybody. Like there's some teenagers who are like, oh my god, I lived through Vietnam, and you're like, okay, buddy, it's gonna be okay. You're young again.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of like Rick and Morty, where Rick's like, I went back into a dimension where they cured aging. Everybody was young. I was nobody seen an old person before. I was some sort of celebrity. Yeah. No. It would be. I understand what you're saying though. Like being able to make the right, like logical decisions,
knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
And going back.
You're like, if someone says something shitty to you, and you're like, fuck you, dude. You're a teenager, and you just leave.
And they're like, but you're a teenager too. I like to think it would be different, but like, who knows really? Like, I know I probably wouldn't have dated the person I dated in high school for as long as I did, because that was ridiculous. But like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I would make different choices. Like, I probably would have chose band over drama class, because I ended up despising the drama teacher by the end of it, and I still talk to the band teacher, and he's actually a pretty cool dude. But and I wish I still knew how to play an instrument. That would have been great.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't even have to like go to class. Like, what are you gonna do? Teach me algebra? Pfft, fuck you. Here it is. Here's a test.
Know that shit already.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have had children in high school.
You never know.
Oh.
I would at least wait until after high school.
Oh, James, teen dads.
But like all that social anxiety that you would have had, you'd be like, who the fuck cares? Like,
You're right. I still have it, but I definitely am a lot more secure in myself. I think the change for me was, like, I still have the same amount of anxiety, but there are some situations where I just decide not to care as much. And it's a weird, like, change where it's like, I remember in high school going places and just being, like, stock still, like, frozen, like, in the corner, not being able to say anything, like, scared of speaking. And now I just, like, I'll go somewhere and I'll have that reaction and then just be like, you know what? If I say something ridiculous and offend someone, that's just how the night's gonna be. I'll get kicked out, and you know what? It's better than standing in the corner all night.
I think the biggest thing...
I'm still frightened of talking, but...
Again, this is going back to the speech I gave, which I don't think I told a whole lot of people about, but I did a speech in front of 600 people. It was for the charity organization that helped me get off the street when I was in my late teens, which was, like, super cool because we raised, like, over 50% more than we thought we were. And I'm like, that is awesome.
That's awesome.
But I think the biggest moment, it was, like, being homeless as a late teens. And now I'm like, who fucking cares if someone doesn't like you? You know?
Yeah,
it's like, I
bigger
honestly
things to worry about.
couldn't care. But, like, as a teen, you're like, oh my god, this person doesn't like me. What's my life going to become? And you're like, you just need someone to be like, you know what? It doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah. Who cares?
You'll be dead in a few years anyway.
Change from high school to now. And it's funny, too, because it's like, you've heard people say before, like, oh, don't, like, the people who were popular in high school, that's their peak. And it doesn't matter later. They might work for you later. Like that, people say stuff like that before. And I was like, oh, whatever. Like, that's not true. Like, I recently started a job back in my hometown, and I see a lot of people my age come in, and a lot of the people who were popular jocks in high school have gained an extensive amount of weight and are losing hair and stuff like that. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, fuck you, buddy, you're such a jerk. Like, it's just like, oh my god. It's like, I didn't believe people in high school that can change so much. But, like, some people do peak in high school, and it's just unfortunate.
They're not forced to run around and interact, and then they just, like, when there's nothing to no guide rails, it's like, and America.
So, this is a message to any of you teenagers who might be watching. Adults know more than you, and what they're telling you is true.
Yeah. Despite how it sounds and how cheesy some of it can sound, a lot of it is true. It doesn't matter what other people think of you.
Really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
To come full circle, that's why I find League so enjoyable. Is, like, if I still cared about any of that, then it still happened when I was first starting, like, this stuff that people say, and even on my own team, would just have made me stop immediately. But now, it's either, doesn't matter, or a really great chuckle, and something to share with all of my friends if someone is having a fit, or what have you. And actually, one of my favorite League YouTubers has a whole strategy based around mental games, like attacking the enemy while he's typing a response, a worded response to you.
Or just typing the phrase
and, like,
use, or...
yeah.
Yeet. And what was the other one? It was like 6? Yeah, just 6.
Yeah, just random things that'll make the other people all grumpy and upset at you, and like, just like to that level, and just being able to be like, I'm just having fun. Like, the worst I get is if, like, oh dang it, I made my own mistake here, or I slipped up here.
Oh yeah.
But then it's just kind of gone. It's like in the moment anger, but nothing, like, actually makes me go, flip table.
Yeah. See, my issue with it and why I guess it bothers me so much is that I'm not good at video games. Like, I'm really bad. and I play these games for fun, and it's the worst part is when they're telling me things, it's like, I guess it is because I know I'm awful, and I just don't want them to yell at me for being awful, because I'm already aware that I suck, and I just, like, when people say these things, I'm like, shut up, man, I know, I can't get better if you keep yelling at me.
See, it doesn't matter what people say to me in League, it's when I know I've made a mistake, and I've failed the team, but no one says anything, and I'm just like, samurai sword to the stomach.
You're like, man, I let them down.
Whoops, what happened? What?
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, alrighty. About time we wrapped
To be
up.
fair, we probably should have
But
wrapped up
very
like 20
informational
minutes ago.
podcast.
Yeah, I know. But before we go, is there anything that you would like to otherwise plug? Anything coming out in the near future?
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll come out. But I'm making a video with Zach, that's coming out in 10 days, the end of the month, about cooking games, and it's gonna be pretty sweet. I got some funny jokes I'm gonna put in there. Otherwise, just thirstykrakenTavern.com. That's where everything is. And we got shirts and stuff, which is pretty awesome. You guys should buy them.
Do you guys have shirts yet?
We've fiddled around with a couple of designs, but we haven't gone to the next step of actually putting them online.
Yeah, I was just about to make a joke of maybe I'll make a video later today, and that is actually being 100% accurate, that we're just not doing stuff.
Excellent. Well, I want one of your shirts, so you guys better hurry up on that. I can't give you cold, hard-earned cash.
You can actually go down to Walmart and buy our branded shirts. They're plain white. They come in packs of 10. And they're by a company that we license called Fruit of the Loom.
Oh shit, Wubs, you got fingers everywhere.
Sponsor.
Speaking of, we also have a line of underwear.
This is their ad read portion.
Dude, we should make... Everyone makes shirts. Can we make pants?
Yes. Make some lovely sweatpants with a giant logo on the crotch area. That's where it goes.
Everybody's doing the bum. You gotta switch it over.
Yeah, it's the other side.
The inside of the crotch of the pants.
Oh, that'd be awful. Oh, man.
Keep constantly grabbing yourself because it's like rubbing up against you. And
That would be actually awful.
TFT brand pants. Get them today. Oh, man.
Alrighty. So if you want to keep up with our news, we have our TFT Twitter, the forum thread, as well as the Facebook, and our TFT Productions YouTube. We have the semifinals and the finals of our League of Legends tournament coming out in the next few days, and that'll be fun. And we'll be able to catch up on our podcast backlog a little bit.
First 2 episodes of Sakura Angels are up on TFT as well, where
Oh,
me,
yes.
Chaos, and Macleod read through a trash visual novel.
Nice. Wonderful. That's what I always wanted.
Alrighty. And with that, we will say goodbyes.
Farewell.
Bye.